welcome to the Maddfuzzy podcast. I am your host, Marta. I am coming to you today from Knox, Maine, where I live with my handsome man and our two wonderful dogs. This is a podcast about knitting, spinning, dyeing yarn, and doing all the homesteading crafts I possibly can here in our rural little paradise. You can find me on Instagram as @Maddfuzzy. You can find the Maddfuzzy podcast group on Ravelry, as well as emailing me at maddfuzzy@gmail.com. The Maddfuzzy podcast group is quickly growing. We have 50 members. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined. We also have 28 introductions in the introductions thread. Thank you so much for taking the time to introduce yourself. The first 100 introductions is going to be in the drawing for the skein of yarn. So we're moving quickly towards 100, much faster than I expected. But I'm going to show you that skein of yarn today on this podcast in the dyeing section. So if you were on the fence on whether you want to take the time to introduce yourself, I'm hoping that the gorgeous colors of this yarn is going to entice you, as well as the curiosity to try Maddfuzzy. If you did not watch the last episode, I talked about really what Maddfuzzy is. I may talk a little bit more this episode, but I might not. You can always go back and watch the other one. So we'll get right in to the knitting segment. So I didn't get a whole lot of knitting done, and I have a couple of socks that I actually didn't work on at all. I didn't work on my adventure socks at all. I didn't work on that colorwork sock at all. And then I was private messaged by a woman on Ravelry. She is actually the host of the Silver Dreamland podcast, and she is doing what she calls Whip Down 2017. And that's running from August 1st to December 31st. And it's a motivational way to get all those whips done. I believe double dipping is allowed. So if you're joining on with another let's get it done, let's get it finished, prize-based incentive to finish some projects, here is another great one. I'd also recommend checking out her podcast on YouTube. That is Silver Dreamland Podcast. There is a hashtag for this knit along. It is hashtag SDL Whip Down 2017. And so you can join in all the fun there. If you want more information, I have a link to her podcast Ravelry group, where you can see the official rules, and that's where you would post all your finished objects. I am simply letting you know about something very cool that came across my knit along radar, and I wanted to share it with you. I'm not going to be doing anything official in my Ravelry group, but you may see me popping up in hers, because I am going to participate with those two socks. I need to get them done. Off the needles. Get it off the needles. I don't have all the needles in the world, and I want to cast on all the things. I have to get them off the needles. You'll notice today that I am in a very different spot. I am actually downstairs of our house here at what we call the Shire. That's the 50 acres we live on, and we share that with my handsome man's mom, Betsy, who was home this last weekend, and so nice to see her. It is always great when she comes to visit. So I know she watches the podcast. Hi, Betsy. I'm in your living room. So I'm downstairs because it is 1,000,000 degrees upstairs in our room and the studio, and I can't even function in that heat. I'm sticky, I'm hot. I did just get back from a dog walk, so I am already sticky and hot. The only plus side of coming back from a dog walk is the dogs are passed out on the floor around me. I've got White Dog underneath the table in front of me here, just eyes closed, tongue out, and then Truffle is sprawled out on the floor with her belly against it so she can get the coolness of the floor. It's hot today. It's been hot the last couple of days, but it hasn't rained, and it's been perfect for house building. I do have some life updates at the end of the episode. So I guess on to the actual knitting, right? There's a long build up to that. I have a hoe. Yes, one hoe. I could have had two hoes, but I got busy building my own house. I'm not going to apologize for that. But one hoe is still wonderful, and I bet you can guess what it is. I left my sock blockers upstairs. I think it is actually worth going to get them. So, 2 seconds. So I have finished the first one of my Blue Mercury socks. So this is the Mercury sock pattern. I am just so in love with this. Heath keeps telling me it looks like the wall from Game of Thrones. I think I mentioned this before, and it so does. Oh my goodness. I love this pattern. It became so intuitive. It became so easy to do. It really became my potato chip knitting. I would just do another repeat, another repeat. I am so happy to wear these. And a wonderful viewer, thank you so much, Suna, S-U-N-A, Suna on Ravelry had PM'd me and sort of had a solution to my slipping socks problem. She said that if I made the heel flap a little longer by about 4 stitches, that it would fit better. So I took my normal 16 stitch heel and actually added 4 more stitches. And I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention this on the last episode. But I did that with this sock, and I'll do it with the next one too, to see if they will actually stay up better in my socks or in my shoes. They seem to fit better. So I'm pretty excited about this. That lace pattern is just so fun. Oh, I'm so happy with it. And because it is such an addicting knit and I am enjoying it so much, I've made a good amount of progress on the next one. So these are done on the DPNs. These are the carbons. I believe these are 2.5 millimeter. I had gone up a little bit because I was doing 60 stitches instead of my normal 64, and I was worried they were going to be tight. They're not tight at all. I am a really loose lace knitter. And so they're going to fit beautifully. They're so comfy already. This yarn is so squishy. So there's the Blue Mercury sock. Finished. And now the other one is continuing on. So there is that hoe. Oh, and also, so the pattern does say how to divide the stitches in the beginning. And maybe I am missing something entirely, but they have you divide them into 15 evenly. So you're using 4 DPNs. Because I only use 3 DPNs, I did 15, 15, and 30. Now, the lace is a 6-stitch repeat. Are you following me here? And 6, yes, goes into 60, and yes, it goes into 30, but it does not go into 15 evenly, and you have like a yarn over somewhere between needles, and it was driving me crazy. So after I did the cuff, I believe, I did the cuff, and maybe next time I'll think a little bit further ahead and actually do it when I cast on, but I did 18 stitches on one needle, 12 stitches on the other needle, and 30 stitches on the third needle. And that made it so I had a full repeat. I only had 2 repeats on one needle, I had 3 repeats on the next needle, but it made it really easy to separate out the pattern repeat. So if you're doing the sock and you're doing it on 3 DPNs, I do recommend switching up those stitches on those 2 needles there. It'll make the sock a lot easier to pick up and put down. I think 15, she wasn't really thinking ahead to where all the yarn overs and whatnot would be lying. So that's just my little recommendation on that sock. And thank you for the recommendation, Suna, on the heel flap. I hope these fit wonderfully. So my next work in progress has gotten a lot of love as well, thanks to going over to a friend's house. My dear sweet man likes to play a certain popular card game in which you battle certain decks against other decks, and he has a good friend who likes to do it with him. And thank God his good friend is married to a wonderful woman. So I get to go hang out with her, and they just like poof disappear into like this card den and play play a certain card game until the end. We get to sit on the couch and watch all of our girly shows, and I get to knit, and I got a lot done on his sock. So I cranked away. Here's that boyfriend sock made out of the wool free sock. I'll bring it in here and let you see this pattern. There's that. Oh, I'm just so happy with it. It actually, it's really tight. I tried it on him, but I think that's going to be good. This doesn't have, the elastic in it gives out sooner than wool, so it doesn't hold its shape as long. So I think being a little tight, it's going to break in really nicely for him. Can you believe the size of this foot? 11 and a halves. 11 and a halves. I have to measure it. This is why this isn't done, and I'm not doing a Christmas episode where it's all ho-ho. I had to measure, and I didn't want him to take off his shoes. We had been working on the house all day. So I haven't measured yet. Maybe I'll catch him before we go to bed after a shower or something, measure those feet and see how close we are, have him try them on. Because I think I'm ready for the toe decreases on this, and this could be one of my hose, maybe even a finished object for the next episode. So there's the boyfriend socks. And that is all the works in progress I have. I would have had a third. I had gotten through the cuff and probably like 2 5-row repeats, so 10 rows into the actual leg of the foot. And disliked it, took it all out. I will show you the yarn I was using. So this is Maddfuzzy. I have cast on with Maddfuzzy and ripped out Maddfuzzy. So I just have little messy cakes. And White Dog is shedding, and she's blowing her coat right now, so everything I own is covered in White Dog hair, so pardon that. So this is what the cuff was. This is a gorgeous purple. That was the cuff. And then the leg was this, which is this sort of robin's egg blue, purple, and yellow, little gray. And it was gorgeous, and I'm loving it so much, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I was doing the diagonal lace sock pattern, which is a toe-up pattern, top-down, and it wasn't working out as it should have. I probably wasn't thinking about it right. I'm not the best at reading patterns. So I'm going to try something else, maybe the Mercury socks again. It would look really well. I mean, do the same thing, but there's so many patterns on Ravelry. If you have any suggestions for something that would look really good with a really round and highly twisted sock yarn, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments bar below, or message me on Ravelry. Put it in the hashtag all I talk about is socks thread. I'd like to get some suggestions because I'm not really entirely sure what I'm going to do next. I suppose cast them on and see where it leads. I guess now that they're off the needles, I could do a toe-up sock, right? But, sorry, I'm reaching over here. For my one acquisition this week, I got a pair of Chow lace needles in a size 0. Oh yeah, those are some tiny little needles, and they are sharp. Holy cow, I didn't realize how sharp they were. People are like, oh, they're kind of sharp. They're kind of sharp. So I have these, so I may cast, now that I'm thinking about it, I may cast this on, toe up, and actually do the diagonal sock recipe, or sock pattern. But I will take those suggestions anyways. If you are thinking about suggestions for sock patterns, I will always take them. Put them in the hashtag all I talk about socks. I'm always looking for fun new patterns. I'm such a copycat, you know. This podcaster does this sock, so I'm going to do that sock. This podcaster does that sock. Oh, I'm going to do that sock. So I'm kind of a follower when it comes to sock patterns. I like to see if somebody else has trouble first. So that concludes all of the actual knitting. I have some finished skeins of yarn, and these are all just kind of one little dye session, having fun, trying to figure out where I want to go with Maddfuzzy. Seeing the colors that I own, where I need to buy new colors, things like that. So I've got a couple I'll show you here. There's a couple I think that go really fun together. So I have these 3 that I just think go so well together. This green I'm thinking I'm going to call Guacamole. It's got black. I know, it's so fun. And at first I really didn't like it, but now I'm actually really happy with it, especially with these 3. Got that one. Which I'm super happy with as well. It's so blue, oh my goodness. And then I've got this sort of speckle tonal red. Now I re-skeined these. And I want to know your opinion on reskeinin. Is it important for you as a yarn buyer, or is it important for you as a yarn lover to have something that's been reskeined? Or does it take away from the actual skein? I actually didn't like these in the skein out of the dye pot, and once I reskeined them and saw how the colors better interacted with each other, I like them a lot more. I'm really curious about what you guys think about reskein to not reskein. I might even open a thread in the Ravelry group, to reskein or not to reskein. That is the question. So let's move on here. And this is a good example, actually. Let's not move on here. This is a great example of what I'm talking about. So this is a colorway I dyed in a kind of dip dyeing one end, and there's all these blues, right? I also dip dyed this one in the same manner, but with the reds. I'll see which way I want to go with this. So this one has not been reskeined. This one has been reskeined. Again, I lead you back to the group. Which do you prefer? It's, do you want the large sections of color? Is that what really draws you to a yarn? Or do you want to see how it kind of evens out? So I'm curious to know about that. I have more. Sorry. This one I'm calling Tutti Frutti. It's just a fun speckle, some blues, some pinks, some greens, all your primaries. I've got a really nice kind of burgundy red. And here, are you ready? This is what you all have been waiting for. This is the skein. This has not been reskeined, because I'm going to read that thread in the Ravelry group and see what you people think about this, because I'm guessing if you're posting in the Ravelry group, you've also introduced yourself and therefore maybe owning this skein. So your opinion really does matter. This I am calling Into the Mystic. And it is this gorgeous purple. You've got red, a little blue, little speckles of yellow, and just this gorgeous tonal purple. So, would you prefer it come like this or reskeined? I mean, this yarn is a little overspun. I'm not gonna lie. I think it needs to be reskeined, especially this one. Maybe it was how I pulled it off of the cake, but you see right there. I'm gonna reskein this. That's what I've decided. It is so pretty. So this is what you're gonna win, Into the Mystic. Check it out. Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. All right. So that's the yarn I dyed. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It's really hard to dye yarn when it's 1,000,000 degrees out, because most people do it on a stovetop, and most people here don't have air conditioning. I don't have air conditioning. So the thought of standing over a hot pot, it's been less and less enticing. But over the weekend, I did make a ton of pickles, and so that was a lot of standing over a hot pot. I guess it's a slightly different kind, but so one of my amazing viewers posted in the Ravelry group under hashtag all I talk about is socks, really detailed instructions on how to do a self-striping yarn. So if you are hanging out on the Ravelry group, go check out that thread. It was DYLTA66, and she posted all the pictures of her doing it and some really good tricks and tips and the recipe. So if you were thinking you wanted to try your hand at doing a self-striping yarn, that is a wonderful resource. Like, thank you. Thank you for posting that. So detailed, so awesome. I'm going to do it like that. The results are also in the thread. It's amazing. So check that out. It's a really great idea. So a little bit of spinning news. I dear friend of mine usually gives me her dog hair because I spin dog hair. I've spun Great White Pyrenees, I've spun Husky, I've spun Pomeranian, and I spin Newfoundland. And she has a Newfoundland named Brody, and she always used to give me his hair, and she sent me a message the other day that asked me if I wanted Brody hair. And she met me at the farmer's market in Camden, Maine, and gave me a bag of Brody hair, a whole bag. So this is all the undercoat. This is what she's actually brushed out of him. It's not cutting, so it is easily spinnable. And so I told her I would make her some yarn. And unfortunately, this will be the last of the Brody hair because he has since passed on. And so I'm going to make her enough yarn for her to make hats for all 3 of her kids. And so they'll have a piece of Brody as well. So I'm probably going to do kind of a sport weight, 2-ply. I'm going to process it with my drum carder, and I'm going to spin it on my Kromsky wheel. And I hope to have a start to finish kind of video on that. So stay tuned for that as I process this dog hair and spin with dog hair, because I have before many times, and I find it is so nice to work with. There's no lanolin. Once you wash it, the smell's gone. I think it is, well, it's warmer than wool. It's a wonderful material to work with. So I will be spinning dog hair probably this winter, and I invite you to come on the adventure of dog hair spinning and maybe inspire you to spin some dog hair of your own. This is sort of the part of the podcast where I talk about our life and what we've been up to and all the things that we've been doing. So if you were just here for the general knitting shenanigans, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and come back for the next episode in 2 weeks. This weekend we did a lot of work on our house. We got walls up, we got windows framed in, we got the center post placed, we got one of the carrier beams placed. It looks like a house now. It was a really long 3 days, up and getting wood early in the morning and building all day, sawing. I mean, I was out there running power tools and screwing things in, and you know, it's my house, I have to build it too, and so that's why I'm so tan. I was on, you know, an Advantix little cook surface and roasted out there. Luckily it was kind of cool in the morning, and we get a lot of work done and kind of peter off in the afternoon and hang out and whatnot. But we got a lot done. I'm so happy to finally be moving forward. I can't believe how many 2x4s it takes. So many 2x4s. Like load after load of 2x4s. I don't know how I managed to do it, but I also managed to pickle 30 pounds of cucumbers. I had ordered them from a farm just over in Monroe, Dickey Hill Farm. Nomi is phenomenal, and I am like almost neighbors with her at the Belfast market, and I had said I wanted 30 pounds and went to the farm and picked them up, and I may have bit off more than I could chew. The recipe itself is like for 30 medium cucumbers. What is a medium cucumber? Like, you know, an approximate weight would have been nice. So I got 2 little vinegar, and I got 2 little honey, and I got 2 little sugar. And so by the 3rd batch, I was just kind of making it up as I go. Like, what can I use instead of this? What can I use instead of that? We'll see how that 3rd batch turns out. But all of them sealed. So all the pop tops went pop, which is always my biggest fear. And the first ones are exactly as the recipe required. The second ones are a little bit different. And the third ones is just like, I have to get this done. It's 11:30 at night. I live in rural Maine. Nothing is open. So what can I use instead of white sugar? What can I use instead of vinegar? What do we have in this house? Fortunately, we save the juices that we don't use from the year before, and I was able to find a couple of the canned jars of juices and add that. I found some homemade apple cider vinegar. I really kind of scoured this kitchen for anything and everything that could be used. And I think from the smell, they smelled delicious and they look gorgeous. I came out with 14 quarts, the big jars, and I got 7 pints, which are the little jars. I can't believe how many. It was hours and hours of pickling, because I cut all these cucumbers, 30 pounds of cucumbers sliced. They're bread and butter pickles, so they're sliced. And then I had to cover them with ice for 3 hours. So while that was happening, I was sterilizing jars and all that goodness. But it was quite the process. I started about 3 and ended at about 11 o'clock at night. I was really glad I did not have to get up and go to work this morning, because I would have been so tired. Up all... Sorry there, my camera battery died. I'm a bad podcaster. Plan ahead, charge your batteries. I thought it was charged, but apparently I had done something with the camera between when I charged it and now. So sorry about that, little continuity here, but I was just signing off and I want to come back on and say goodbye officially. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I look forward to meeting you all in the introductions thread, and I hope you all have a wonderful next 2 weeks and enjoy your knitting. Bye.